But I did get Godless Bitches up today, right before the show.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, you guys, it was like 2 hours and 15-minute podcast.
Yeah, that was me.
And Beth's like, I don't even remember what we talked about now. And
Yeah, it's all just a
here we go. We're going live.
haze.
Won't you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes? It's a wonder what you'll find with an open mind. You may be surprised. Yeah, gotta get away from this illusion for the sake of the world. This delusion.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Atheist Experience. We are live. It's Sunday, June 24th, 2012. I'm Matt Dillahunty. This is Tracy Harris. You're the viewers. There are people on the phone lines. It's a live call-in show. Who knows what's going to happen? It's crazy. It's public access. In all seriousness, though, thanks everybody for tuning in. This is a live public access show. We'll be taking live calls. I'll have the number up for you shortly. And after the show's over with, we'll be going to El Arroyo. Just thought I'd mention that. But Tracy, how the hell are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Did you have something you want to talk about before we get to the call?
I had like a couple of quick things. It looks like they're starting to put up names.
Yeah, we can do that. They can wait.
Yeah, it's something that occurred to me the other night, and it's just someone had contacted me, and I'm trying to make this as vague as I can. But basically, their spouse converted to Islam and is now convinced they need to be divorced because this is part of, I guess, the doctrine involving being married to somebody that's not in Islam.
Yeah, the
I don't
unequally
know.
yoked thing.
I guess they have something similar in Islam, but I shared a story about a very similar contact that I had with someone who actually was on the other end of that, who was the spouse who left because they were a Christian. They were raised religious, but not really, it didn't really take. And then later, after an event in their life where they had prayed and felt that God had helped them, they decided to be a better person and start getting involved in religion, went to somebody that they knew that was religious, talked to them about what they needed to do to get their life in order, and the answer was you need to leave your family because you can't be married to this person. This marriage is not viable in the eyes of God based on Christian doctrines. And that person also left their family, and these are families with kids, and I mean, it's tearing apart these families. And then, as this was happening, I was also getting contacted by somebody who is working hard in Pakistan to try and promote secular government there. And one of the things that they had posted was an article about, I believe it was a newscast from Afghanistan, but it was just a clip that I was looking at while I was doing these other things. And basically, there's Muslims there that are keeping polio vaccine from children in order to put pressure on people to get the U.S. drones from not, I guess, giving them a problem because they're having a problem because of the drones. But I'm sure they're, nice people wanting to give children polio, and so I can't imagine why they're being attacked. But it ended up, as I was having these conversations and as I was, reading these things and watching these clips, I just thought, isn't it amazing that I'm working hard to, I guess, let people know the problem that is involved here and to deal with people that are indoctrinated into these beliefs and try to help them out of this and try to put a stop to this. And somehow this monstrous thing that I feel like is just a dragon with a million heads comes out smelling like a rose every single time.
Yep.
You cannot convince people that there's anything wrong with it. and that it does any damage or harm. And when you mention, it's like, well, what's the difference, what people believe, and it doesn't do any harm, or it helps people. And it's like, wow, I mean, how much damage are you willing to disregard in order to support that this is an okay thing, that this is all right, that this, helps people? It doesn't help people. And one of the things that I was, that struck me that sort of meshed with this idea was, as I was commuting home about a week ago, I passed this billboard, and in huge letters on the billboard it says "Lost" with a question mark. And it was a promotion for a local church that was saying, you're feeling lost, you feel like you need help, something missing in your life. And it's just this net that gets cast out to anyone who has a problem that they're having difficulty with, and you just want to get that person and drag them in so that you can then give them social support and structure and other forms of support, which I'm sure are useful and helpful. But then you want to tack religion onto that and say, see, religion helped them. Religion didn't help them. Helping them helped them. And the religion is just this extra weird superstitious crap that you're putting on top of it and then saying, see, this is the good that it does. No, it didn't do any good. The people that helped did the good. When you go to do your mission work and you bring food and medicine to people in a third world country, it's the food and medicine that's helping. And yes, they're probably going to be more prone to listen to your sales pitch if you're giving them things that they would die without. But that doesn't mean that the help was the religion. You could have set up a mission to help these people without religion, and you wouldn't have to be selling them on these beliefs that are, ultimately wrecking families and killing people on the planet. And you could have just sort of done the right thing and done a good thing and done a helpful thing just to do the right thing, instead of trying to sell your product. And I understand that that comes from the perspective of someone who isn't really paying attention to the fact that you believe this product is real. But when you ask all the time that Pascal's wager that is so near and dear to your hearts, that, what if you're wrong, and what difference does it make? And it makes a big difference. It's hurting people. Your religion is hurting people. It's tearing apart families. It's killing people. It's spreading all kinds of awfulness. And you could do all those good things and still get that good result without trying to convince people that it was the religion that did the good and not the medicine and the food and the social supports. And that was just kind of my, 2 cents on that. Mm-hmm. That it's not a net good. There's good that comes from the social aspect of it, and I know we've talked about that before, the idea that anything that it's doing that's good can be done secularly, and I agree with that. But I guess my point is the bad baggage that comes with it is immense. It's not minor. It's immense.
I think it's really, and this doesn't happen in every case and doesn't apply to all religions or even all versions of religions, but so many of them not only prey on the weak or people, and I don't mean that as but people who are going through difficult times or who have already been convinced. For example, you were talking about the lost thing.
Yeah.
You've already been convinced that there's something missing or that they should be looking for something more, and this has been frustrating them. So religion preys on those people, pretends to offer them this something more, and in the meantime messes up their life even worse by breaking up families and creating this strife and division. But
for these people for the people that come out of this social support network better, like let's say you're suffering from some sort of an addiction, and they come and they help you and they give you support, and you're struggling with this, and these people are here and they're just like, we're standing by you, we're helping you out, we'll pray with you, we'll do these things, we'll be there, you can call us anytime, and they are very supportive. Well, anytime you're in a tough situation and new people come and offer support to you, things are going to be better and easier for you. It's always easier to deal with a bad situation when you have people there to help you.
Yeah.
So when there's a bunch of people saying that they're going to help you, who's going to be the bigger advocate for religion changes everyone's life for the better than somebody who got that kind of support and had it infused with superstition And so they come out and they're convinced, yeah, the superstition helped me.
Yeah.
It's like, no, the help helped
The
you.
people, yeah.
The superstition just was tacked on. It's like the stone soup children's story, you know? It's like that vegetable soup, it really wouldn't have been any better or worse without that rock in the bottom of the pot, really. And if you don't know the story, stone soup, look it up. You'll get the analogy.
All right, on that note, since this is a call-in show, we got a bunch of callers lined up. We'll go ahead and start working our way through these. Is it Umar in Virginia?
Hello?
Hello?
Is anyone there?
I'm not hearing anything, but I don't want to hang up, so
No,
let me put
let's
that
keep
one
it-
on
keep it
hold and go to Trevor in Washington.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Okay.
You can hear me, that's cool. Well,
Makes the show easier.
yeah, got some biochemical challenges for you guys. You guys like working in the science realm. I hope one of you guys has.
Why would you call and challenge us on biochemistry? Are we biochemists?
I don't like working in the realm of science. If I did, I would work in the realm of science, but I don't.
And I didn't really start doing the show.
You guys need an alternative to God. You guys need
Why?
some reason that everything came about. Right?
Wait, what? You don't need an alternative to something that doesn't have a basis in itself.
Well, you guys need...
Do I need an alternative to fairies? I mean...
There's a Matt there at least believes in evolution.
Sorry, what?
He says you believe in evolution.
Of course, because I'm not, you know.
All right, I have challenges for evolution if you want to hear them.
Not really. Okay, see, you seem to not understand that this is irrelevant to whether or not a God exists. You could challenge evolution. You could prove evolution false right now, and it doesn't add one bit of credibility to the claim that a God exists.
Well, everything has to be here for some reason, and if evolution isn't true, there's really no other reason for everything.
That's called an argument from ignorance.
And if there would be no other reason, then the answer would be there is no reason for all of this. It wouldn't be God.
Yeah, you have to actually provide evidence for your claim. Meanwhile, when it comes to evolution, we're talking about something that is actually backed up by evidence. And if you have,
you're not seeming to
if you have
let me question it, so you guys are ignoring me here.
Because it's
I'm
irrelevant.
I'm happy to ignore you if that's what if you want to happen. My point that I'm trying to make here is that you're calling an atheist call-in show to offer challenges to evolution, and I don't
think there would be nearly as much atheism if evolution was not
true.
But what you're
the
saying,
solution.
though, is that more people would be inclined to accept reasonable fallacies, or I guess reasoning fallacies, which may be accurate, but it certainly doesn't add anything to the claim that God is responsible for any of this. It's just simply saying that people would be tricked by a fallacy. I mean, and they probably would be, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't make it an ounce more valid.
Well, evolution is a fallacy, and I used to believe it. I actually lost.
But it has nothing to do with
my
God.
faith in God because of evolution.
That's up to you. I mean,
believed
that's
evolution
ridiculous.
before,
First
and
of
you
all-
can say it's not relevant.
First of all, if you lost all of your faith in God because of evolution, you had bad reasons.
Yes.
It's, the fact that you believe something for bad reasons or stop believing something for bad reasons doesn't say one bit about whether or not it's actually true. And second of all, I'm assuming that you're going to say that you've since discovered that evolution is false, which means that your ability to process information and determine what's believable is seriously flawed, and you are flip-flopping on big questions, all based on fallacies.
I think you guys have a funny thing going here that kind of twists the argument, avoid things you know you can't win.
The opposite.
No.
The opposite of God is not evolution. Okay.
No, but you do need a solution.
No,
No,
you
you
don't.
don't.
All this
No,
stuff exists.
you don't.
We are not exactly simple beings. You might see an arm and a leg, but it's a little more complicated.
You're on hold. There must be some explanation, but the absence of an explanation does not mean that God is true. And just because we don't believe in God does not mean that we must currently have an explanation. Fortunately, we do, because evolution is a fact.
Okay, I used to think that. I used to be correct. I haven't met anyone that was more into evolution than I was. Well, then I disbelieve evolution currently.
Fine.
Continue to
but that's not a reason to believe in God.
Okay, why don't you believe?
No, it's not.
Why don't you
Thank
believe?
You. He just
why
said
don't
it's
you
not.
believe that? Okay, why don't you believe that evolutionary theory, that the natural selection? Well, first of all, let me ask you this, because you say you used to believe in evolution. Evolution is a fact. It's an observed fact, and then there is the theory of evolution by natural selection. Do you disbelieve both of them?
I believe there is some microevolution. Anyone can see that. I'm not stupid. But looking at it from biology, looking at the biology of it, it's just ridiculous to think that a single cell ever could have existed and just come about.
And is this the consensus of biologists?
No. Because now you're challenging not evolution, but abiogenesis.
Well, abiogenesis
is
the root of evolution. It's the beginning.
You know what? You say you never met anybody who was more into evolution than you. Maybe you should go out and meet some of those people, because they represent the bulk of scientists who are actually working in this field and understand it.
You know what? I understand evolution.
Not if your challenge is that you simply don't believe abiogenesis. If that's your reason for dropping all of the observations, the facts about change in species, then you don't understand what you're talking about.
You have to get that first cell.
Yeah.
And I also have reasons to doubt every other point of evolution, or most of them, and they're very sound and logical reasons.
Okay, where's your Nobel Prize?
It's not a joke.
I don't need one.
Oh, but I do.
Yes.
Because you're claiming that you have information that would turn all of biological theory on its head.
How about you let me say it and you decide for yourself?
Sure.
I'm not a biologist, but go for it.
I'll give you 60 seconds. Go.
Oh yeah, let's answer the hardest questions in the world in 60 seconds.
I could hang up if you'd prefer.
Scientific.
I'm just amazed we have a guy on the phone who can answer the hardest questions in the world.
Bye. It's not my job to waste as much time on the show as you would like us to waste. I'm sorry that your personal opinions don't match with the established science, but the armchair evolution denier who thinks that he's found the arguments that trump all of evolution, who calls into an atheist show, and even after being told that it's irrelevant to the subject of this show, continues on, is an idiot. Why haven't you published? Oh, the scientific community just won't listen to you. Because you're an idiot. How hard was that? We tried to say it wasn't. Anyway, even if you could disprove evolution, it wouldn't prove your God, which means all of your position is based on a fallacy. But the fact that you can sit there and say, oh, I used to be really into evolution, and I know all about evolution, and now I just can't believe it, and I'd like to give you my reasons. Don't.
You know, but not even looking at the argument from ignorance, it gives people such a problem, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
But even without that, all you have to do is say, there are people who believe in God who believe in evolution. There are people who believe in God who do not believe in evolution. Therefore, whether or not you believe in God is irrelevant to whether or not you believe in evolution. I don't know how much more clear it can be than that.
Yeah, and the fact is, you got him to say that at one point, that disproving evolution wouldn't say anything at all about God existing.
Right. So it's irrelevant.
You know, and
it's only relevant when you will not let go of the argument from ignorance fallacy, and you don't. If you think that evolution has to be wrong in order for your God to be right, and you don't think that you need to demonstrate why your God is right, why that idea about your God is right, then suddenly this becomes necessary. But you have to buy into a fallacy first of all. And then you have to sit there and say that you know more about biology than biologists. And I don't know why you think that's true.
You know, we've taken...
And asking us, I mean, you're not, if you want to issue a challenge to biology, you know who you need to talk to, right? And it's not atheists, it's biologists.
There's a little symbol down there in the lower corner right here, the Atheist Experience. Now, we've talked about evolution before, we've talked about it again. The thing is, I don't want to get, here's what happens. You have apologists in particular who run around thinking that if they can trump random atheist X on subject Y, they can then pimp this out to the believers of, look, I stumped the atheist and therefore God, which is just another fallacy, because I'm not a biologist. So even if I didn't have any responses to your, accusations or your objections to evolution, it wouldn't mean a thing. Now, if you'd like, since I hung up on you, and I'm sure that your panties are in a twist over that, if you'd like to call back, I could probably get PZ Myers to agree to call in or sit in on the show at some point in the future, and then you could pose your objections to biology to him until his head exploded and he went off, because he's actually a biologist. But we're going to move on. Charles in Ohio, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Well, okay.
All right. Well,
are you calling about evolution?
No.
I'm sorry?
No,
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I believe I can prove the existence of God using science and the Bible.
Okay. I think you probably could. Why do you get to use the Bible?
Well, why not?
What reason should we have to care about what the Bible says? You'd have to demonstrate.
Well, if the Bible has factual evidence in it, I don't see how it could disprove a creator.
Well, the fact that it has factual evidence in it, it's the evidence itself that is valuable, not the fact that it's in the Bible.
Which is why I also brought science into the picture.
Yeah, and the only thing I care about is science, so I'm asking why we would care what the Bible says.
If you can compare them, you would understand, is what I'm getting at.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Because I've compared them.
You've compared them.
Sure.
Okay. Well, here goes mine. We know science expresses the universe in 4 elements. Times,
no, it
space.
doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, 4 elements?
There's a whole lot of elements.
We moved past Aristotle a long time ago.
Let me rephrase that. The main elements.
No, not main elements either. But go ahead, just in case it's a terminology issue.
Well, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong.
I am. Go ahead.
Time, space, matter, and energy.
Time, space, matter, and energy.
He's talking about dimensions? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What? I don't know what you're calling those things.
This is a very weird way, but go ahead, continue.
Okay. Now this is where the Bible comes in. If we take Genesis, the very first book of the Bible, and the very first verses, and compare those 4 to what it said, we can prove creation.
No, you can't.
Why can't you?
Because the biblical account in Genesis does not match with what science tells us happened in the universe.
But that's why I'm bringing science into the picture. You're not understanding that.
No, I am understanding it. I hope so. And you're saying that the Genesis account accurately matches science, correct?
Yes.
It doesn't.
That's your opinion.
No. It's a fact that the Genesis.
Where's your fact?
Okay, here, give me just a second, and I will pull up the comparison of the Genesis account.
All right.
Let me go. See, that one of the things is that you've got light before the sun and plants before.
Well, light is energy.
Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead.
You just want me to finish?
Yeah.
Okay. In the beginning, which would be time, God created the heavens, which would be space, and the earth, which would be matter.
Okay, stop. Going through Genesis 1 and taking what it says and then reinterpreting it to fit something doesn't really accomplish anything.
Why doesn't it?
Well, because if we found out that if science had a slightly different explanation, then what would keep you from interpreting the words in a different way?
You see, the problem with that is the scientists that you're referring to are evolutionists, and there are 2 totally different types of scientists. There are creation scientists.
Okay, first of all, there are scientists who believe in creation, but they don't have a scientific basis for this.
And And I
I'm
also
not
doubt they
understanding
take
how
a
they
literal
don't,
reading
but
of
all right,
Genesis.
continue.
They don't, because the claims of creationism and the order of events in Genesis do not match with what we know to be true about the origin of the universe. The real order, here we go, this is from the Talk Origins archive. The creation account in Genesis 1 lists 10 major events: a beginning, a primitive
Whoa,
earth.
whoa. Are you using a website?
Of course.
Oh, well, you can't use that. That doesn't count. Why would I care what a website says?
Well, because I don't have it all memorized as to the order.
Okay, and I don't have everything that the Bible has memorized in the order either.
Okay,
So,
Charles,
from that standpoint.
Charles, are you an idiot?
No, not at all.
Then why are you objecting to the fact that I'm reading this? I'm
Why
not
are you objecting to
I'm
the
not
text of the Bible?
I'm not citing it as a fucking authority.
And I'm not citing a website as an authority.
You're
So we're at a
citing the
standpoint.
Bible as an authority. That was the objection.
You're not understanding what I'm saying. Okay. You don't take the Bible literally, right?
I don't take it for toilet paper.
So you don't believe what the Bible says, correct?
There are things in the Bible that are true, but I don't.
Now you're contradicting yourself.
No, I'm not. Oh wait, are you still there?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay, now your ass is on hold. I'm not contradicting myself, and I no longer believe that you're a real caller. I think you're a prank, because I have a hard time believing anybody could be this douchey and stupid. I'm not contradicting myself. I don't care what the Bible says, because something is not true merely because the Bible says it. The fact that the Bible has things in it that are true, we discovered that they're true, and we are okay with the fact that they're true, but truth in this verse does not mean this verse is any more or less true. Is that okay?
Well, you're still okay.
I asked a question.
I
I asked a question, Charles.
What's your question?
There's no I'm saying that if this verse of the Bible is true, it doesn't tell you whether or not another verse in the Bible is true, correct?
That's an easy
Okay,
question.
I'll give you that one.
Good. So the fact that the Bible has something in it that's true, I'm fine with. It's a fact.
Okay.
The fact that the Bible is true is not a fact, because the Bible also has false things in it. And
Like
there are
what?
things. There are things.
Well,
in the,
if you're gonna say that the Bible has false things, you have to provide what's false.
sure, Genesis to start with.
Okay.
There was never one man and one woman from which everybody came from.
And how do you know this?
Science.
What? Okay. That's why I'm asking. What does science say?
Sure, science traces back the origin of the human species to a small population of humans that share an ancestry with all of the other great apes, which share an ancestry with all of the other living things.
Oh, evolution. I see.
Yes, science.
You know, evolution's a theory.
Okay, now I know that you're a prank caller.
No.
You're done. Thanks for throwing in the nose for me. Thanks for throwing in the nose for the no, you're done. Julie will love that. Go to Just a Theory. I think it's justatheory.com that explains this, but a theory is the graduation point of an idea in science. It's the highest thing that an idea in science can strive to be.
The other thing, though, is, I mean, you also have a talking serpent in Genesis.
Well, I can't prove that didn't happen.
Yeah, I know, but when you're on the phone with somebody who's basically telling you, how do you know there wasn't a talking snake that enticed a woman to eat a magic apple? I'm sorry, but we got to move on.
Yeah. So in any case, for those people who are interested, there's a website that goes in the Talk Origins archive that we reference quite a bit. It's the website that I was going to go to, because I don't have the order of creation in Genesis memorized, because I long ago gave up bothering to keep bits of that useless book memorized. A couple things here and there. But it's claim CH801. The site is an index to creationist claims, and pretty much any creationist claim or any anti-evolutionist claim that you might run across is there, along with reference to material and feedback from actual scientists. But the Genesis order lists the beginning, the primitive earth, darkness enshrouded by heavy clouds and water, light, an expanse or atmosphere, large areas of dry land, land plants, sun, moon, and stars, seasons begin, sea monsters and flying creatures, wild and tame beast animals, and then man. And some Korea apologist has listed the odds of getting that order right by chance are 1 in 3,620,000. I don't know. Whenever they start doing math, it just makes me chuckle. Yeah. But the real order is a beginning, light, sun and stars, primitive earth, moon and atmosphere, dry land, sea creatures, then land plants, or some land plants, the land creatures and more plants and sea creatures, flying creatures, insects and more plants, then mammals, more land, then the first birds, fruiting plants, which is what Genesis talks about, and more land, sea, flying creatures, man, and more of the various animals, etc. There are other sites that you can go to that actually go verse by verse through Genesis and compare where the order is, right and where it's not. But the thing is, when the apologists look at it, they do what Charles was trying to do and say, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. No, the earth is 4.5 billion years old, and the universe is 13.7 billion years old. In the beginning, if God created anything, he created a whole bunch of dust. And then over billions of years, that dust formed stars, which lived their life cycle and died to create the heavier elements. And then over billions of years, that process continued. And then, about 4.5 billion years ago, the earth formed. I don't see how that maps to a Genesis account where you've got God creating the earth on the first day and a firmament separating. It's just, but anyway, the part of this, which I think you probably would have got to if I would have shut up and
I don't know.
was this, what if Genesis got the order right? What does that tell us? Why is it that we had to wait thousands and thousands of years after Genesis was written before we knew that Genesis got the order right?
Well, some of these things should be intuitive. Like, for example, if I was making up a creation story, let's say I'm somewhere way back when, and I'm building my creation story. Of course, I'm going to make the things that you eat precede the thing that you are. So, of course, I would have plants happening before the animals that eat the plants, and then the animals that eat the other animals, and then eventually we eat most of the animals, and we're, so it's like that part of it is just going to flow, because you're not going to precede things. You shouldn't be preceding things, putting something there before the thing it eats. So that would be intuitive, just sort of making up the story even right now if you had no information on anything else. You could go to a foreign planet where things eat other things and make up a similar story, and you'd probably be accurate that the things that they're eating came first.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that hard.
The big thing for me is that to the extent, like I was talking about, there's things in the Bible that are true. We don't know that they're true because they're in the Bible. We know that they're true because we've investigated them and found out through science and through history and archaeology and things like that these things were true. So saying, oh, the Bible says this, and it got, verse 4 right and verse 8 right, tells us nothing about the rest of it, because the reason we know verse 4 and 8 are right is because we actually went out and investigated and learned this stuff. Now, the people who always believed verses 4 and 8 were always right, but they were never rationally justified until we actually demonstrated this through science and reason.
Sure.
So it's useless. It didn't impart any wisdom. Mm-hmm. It got some things right, it got some things wrong. That's kind of what we'd expect. Yeah.
I would also add that if you are a believing Christian, and this is the type of thing that really turns you on, like if you're really into the idea of where the Bible maps to science, and you think it really, charts a course right there with science, you need to talk to a Muslim.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Because they will show you, the Quran is just, full of amazing scientific reality that you just can't deny. There's no way people could have known that. And boy, they make your Bible look like a children's science tutorial when they start going off about the, all the amazing scientific, discoveries that have been just like in the Quran forever since it was written. And yeah, I mean, they really could run rings around you if you're into saying my book, is supported because it maps to science, and so you might want to look that up.
And they'd laugh at your Bible's cure for leprosy, which you can go look up, involving slaughtering birds and sprinkling blood around.
I would kind of like to see that discussion, though, because what I envision is a Muslim apologist and a Christian apologist both pointing to each other's books saying, how do you get that from your book? I'm sure that's how the dialogue would go.
Yeah.
The Christian would look at the verses that the Muslim is saying are, reporting this accurately, accurate science, and they would be going, how are you getting that from that verse? And the Muslim would be looking at these Bible passages going, how are you getting that from this Bible verse? But I'm almost positive that's how the dialogue would go.
Yeah, it'd almost be a really, and it's happened before because people from different religions have had debates and discussions. But yeah, if you want to find out what's wrong with Christianity or Judaism, you go to a Muslim website or you go talk to some Muslims.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Actually, there probably have been fewer attacks on the veracity of Islam from Christians and Jews.
Right.
Because, first of all, it's younger.
Yeah.
It came last, so it had the job, I guess, of saying, no, we're the ones that's right, all you guys have got it wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas
I have met Muslims that'll shred on Christianity.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they'll just counter-apologetic shred. So it's interesting.
Anyway, we got calls lined up, so let's go ahead and get to this. Paul in California, thanks for waiting.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Sure.
Yes.
Great. How you guys doing?
Good.
I'm obviously in a mood. I didn't know.
He's in a snit.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm going to calm down and let Tracy talk.
Okay, that sounds good. Anyways, I mostly want to call to make a comment. I fairly recently, a few months ago, came out as an atheist. I was raised Jewish, and since I learned what the term agnostic was, I considered myself to be an agnostic Jew up until a few months ago. And your television show, as long as some other instrumental folks like Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, has helped allow me to be comfortable with this decision. So I, first of all, want to say thank you very much for all of that.
Thanks for saying so.
And unfortunately, I couldn't really think of a very interesting question, so mostly I just want to call and praise and comment. But one question I do have is, when you guys did come out as atheists, did you find yourself making different lifestyle changes as far as like not using certain words, or like I've never had a problem with using the God's name in vain, so I still say goddamn and Jesus Christ and things like that. Do you consciously make efforts to change those type of behaviors or any other behaviors that you have changed because of your atheism?
I think the only thing that I can think of that I actually worked on changing was saying Gesundheit rather than bless you. I tend now to say Gesundheit, but that's the only real thing that I remember consciously thinking I probably should work on that a little.
Yeah, I don't remember making conscious decisions about some of it. First of all, I'm not giving up all the best curse words just because they come from religion. It's fun, and plus, having been raised primarily a Southern Baptist, I wasn't supposed to say them then, so damn it, I'm saying them now. And I've already dropped, I think, 2 F-bombs on this show, which is probably a record, because I try and avoid that because we try to at least be approachable on here. Evidently, as I said, I'm in a mood that I wasn't aware of. I stopped saying pretty much anything when somebody sneezes. I don't know that I was ever too big on bless you. I know Pendulette in his book talked about how he's taught his kids to say that's funny, which I think is hilarious.
Would that be in the God No book?
Yeah, I think so. I think he mentioned that in God No, where somebody sneezes, they all say that's funny, which it is. I kind of like that. It's just that I don't say anything when somebody farts or burps, so I can't think of any reason to say anything when they sneeze either. So I just kind of ignore it. It's just another thing. I had issues, I think, with music. There was, first of all, I listen to all kinds of music, and there's a lot of even country music that I like. But there's a lot of country music that is very religious in nature. So I mean, in any given day, I could be listening to Phantom of the Opera, Eminem, Marilyn Manson, or Johnny Cash, Travis Tritt. You never know.
Right.
But I would probably listen to a lot more country music if there weren't so many religious references in there. It just annoys me. But I found that Dobie Gray's "Drift Away," which is one of my favorite songs ever, at one point is give me the Beat Boys to free my soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll. And there was a time when any mention of the word soul would kind of tweak me a little bit. And then I realized I'm okay with the metaphorical,
Sure.
this idea of a human soul. And what those guys are talking about isn't, religious. They're talking about, just
Right.
the human essence. Or,
Well, the word itself was converted over to this weird ethereal thing. Soul was just a person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it became this weird spiritual thing. But one thing I didn't think of, I was just kind of thinking of more cursory things when you were asking your question, but really, there were a little bit deeper things that changed about my life. One was that I got my Sundays back and my Sunday nights and my Wednesday nights. And all my Bible reading and my praying time and all of that. Yeah, now I'm here chained to this atheist church. Anyway, but what I also did is I got my life back. And I gained control of my life, and I was able to then start taking some real control and looking at it and becoming more concerned about it and what I was going to do and where I was going to go. And I began to realize that if I didn't do things and if I didn't make these plans, it wasn't just going to roll with God. There wasn't this let go, let God. It was you need to look at your life. You need to work on your life. If you want something to happen, you need to make it happen. You don't just sit there. You don't just send out a resume and pray. You make that follow-up call. You do everything you can do because you're the only one working for yourself here. And you've got your social support network for sure. There's things and people that will help you. But the fact is realizing that there's not some cosmic guide, taking care of your life for you really puts a fire under your butt to make you responsible for your life and to make you care and be concerned and pay attention to what you're doing.
And I'll tell you something else that happened to me once. I have no interest in like being a part of a church. Even there are atheist groups that are like use the church label or use the church model. There are things about that I like and that I know other people like. Unitarians and stuff. I don't go to a Unitarian church. It's just I'd rather have my Sundays free and I'd rather.
Right. But they're good
go
for
to a
families
lecture
and things.
Or talk and stuff like that. There was a time though where even as an atheist, and I don't. People are like, oh, don't you wish it was true? Christianity, don't you wish it was true? No, I absolutely don't wish it was true. If it's true, I want to know about it. That's for sure. But I find it absurd and cruel and downright evil. And so I really don't hope that it's true. But there was a period where I had nothing to do and nobody to really interact with. This was before I got involved with the ACA and the show and stuff. And it was a Thursday evening, and I was driving home from work, and I drove by a church. There were cars everywhere. And I'm sitting here going, I might actually miss that. Because they're not having a church service there Thursday night. Yeah. This is something else the church has got going on. And maybe it's, maybe it's card night, depending on what church you're going to. Just having that sort of built-in community and knowing that if I packed up and moved to another town, all I got to do is look for another one of those buildings of the same type. Gives me an instant social network. That's the area where I think atheist groups need to spend a lot more time. And we don't have to necessarily borrow from a church model because the church models have borrowed from the human model, which is we like to interact with people and do things and have fun.
Yeah.
And they just, have a tax-free building that they can use. So I think we need to do a lot better work in that area.
Yeah, I really appreciate that comment because on one of your episodes you mentioned to one of your callers to go out and seek what communities there are, and it actually inspired me to establish one of my own.
Whereas,
awesome.
There wasn't any real local, but the next neighboring town about 30 minutes away, I found they had a community on Google. And so I've been attending them, and I've actually been educating myself and went to my first Bible study about a month ago, and just so I can really understand what people's beliefs are and what it says, because I've never looked into it before.
Yeah, you guys could do one on Genesis and compare it to science.
Yeah, we should.
Thanks a lot for the call, Paul. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate what you guys do.
Thanks. We got William in North Carolina. How are you?
Pretty good. You good?
Okay.
I'm getting better.
Okay. It might sound the screener list that this calls primarily for Tracy.
Good.
And no, like chatting, Matt.
I had a rough weekend. I went tubing yesterday, pulled my arm out of the socket, fell over a waterfall. It's no wonder I'm in a mood. Go ahead.
Yeah, that sucks. Anyway, do you consider, and if you want to chime in, Matt, feel free, but do y'all consider Buddhism a religion?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, because you made some that could kind of be implied that it's not to a degree.
That I've said that before because I've met Buddhists who will say that it's not.
I have a background that includes a lot of anthropology, and from an anthropological perspective, it's a religion.
What do you mean?
I mean that if you look in religious studies and anthropology, Buddhism is cataloged. So it's a religion according to anthropology, and so I accept that.
It's also recognized as a matter of law for tax exemption. However, on occasion, they've had to fight it. They had to fight it here in Texas to get a Buddhist temple counted for tax exempt status.
It doesn't have a requirement of a belief in a deity, but it has ritual, symbol, esoteric beliefs. Things like, for example, there is the reincarnation belief of a soul. So there's sufficient things there to catalog that as a religion. Now, if somebody is saying if somebody's classification is just, do they require a belief in a God? And if you're looking at it just from that perspective, no, they don't. I mean, there is some Buddhist literature that includes discussion of deities, so it's not completely absent from all their religious literature, and yet some Buddhists don't accept gods, and I think the literature that I read mainly kind of looked at them as, even when they were discussed, it was with an era of irrelevancy. That yes, there's these demons, there's these gods, but they're not relevant.
Right. Yeah, you said something similar to that, and I think it was more like in a context of like somebody made the comment that atheism was a religion, and you made that like
there's no symbols, there's no rituals, there's no dogmas, there's no doctrines.
Right. And you made that comment like, because atheism doesn't tell you anything to believe, and I think you mentioned Buddhism as, I don't know if you're trying to throw them off, but you might not even remember it.
Well, I mean, I don't think I would have said that Buddhism is not a religion, but I would say that it can be an atheistic religion.
Right, you said it doesn't believe in God, and I think you kind of said from the loosest terms it could be atheism.
I was probably saying that there are people that can be religious and be atheists. Sometimes I've made that point.
Yeah, I probably have to go back myself to really.
I don't know. I wouldn't know exactly what I had said on the past show.
A long time ago.
Yeah, it's kind of a set theory thing of. Are there atheists who are religious? Yep.
Yeah.
But is atheism a religion? No.
Yeah.
Are all atheists religious? No.
Well, there's a lot of atheists. There's a lot of Jews that are atheists.
Yeah.
And they still participate in the cultural rituals and practices and all the religious, practices, but they don't believe in a God. And there is a God associated with the religion, but it just seems that some of the Jews don't think that you need to accept it in order to still be a Jew and still be part of that
I'd actually argue that there's probably quite a lot of Christians who are atheists as well. And we know that this is true for pastors, people in the Clergy Project, who at least outwardly identify as Christian.
Well, I think the term
whether or not it's inward
the term cultural Catholic is starting to come into use more and more now. People that are basically saying that they are Catholics because of their families, and they'll go to the masses and they do the stuff, but they don't really believe it.
And I think that there's been a lot of stories about these nuns that have come under fire from the Pope lately, and they were even accused of being, like feminist nuns. I would say that those nuns might qualify as cultural Catholics because there's no way that they could come out in opposition to the Pope, who is supposedly infallible and the mouthpiece of God, if they hadn't divorced themselves from some of the church doctrine already. And these nuns, by the way, they're focused on doing good deeds and helping the poor and everything else and empowering people and really, in a lot of cases, advocating something that's closer to secular humanism in its practice than Catholicism. So I think they may qualify as cultural Catholics that way, which is why the Pope's so pissed at them. Hey, how could you run around doing good things in the name of Catholicism? What's wrong with you? I'd ask the same thing. Take off the habit. Just call yourself a secular humanist and go out and help people.
Did that answer your question?
Same thing, different points of view. All right, well, thanks for the clarification.
Sure.
And enjoy the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Even when I'm in a mood. John? I hear beeps.
It's Morse code. John?
Hello?
Hello. Hey,
Hello.
you're on the air.
Hey, oh, great. How you doing?
Okay.
We heard you using a microwave or dialing a phone or something.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
You didn't warn me, or I would have stayed away from the microwave.
We like to surprise people.
So, yeah, the reason I called out, I'm sure you got your little notes in front of you, but I'm in the military. I have been for 18 years, actually. Just hit my 18-year mark.
Congratulations, and thank you for your service. As another former service person, I can appreciate 18 years. That's longer than I made it.
Well, because you're a prior service person, I kind of do it for you, but I really do it for the guys that are in. I'm not a patriot, and this is something that bothers a lot of people. But I do it because, like, 18-year-old kids, our lives are in danger, and I want to help.
That's a good reason.
I don't think so.
Seems like a good enough reason for me. I mean, anyway, so basically my experience was this. I've been in for 18 years. I've been promoted, many times. I've been very successful in the military. I have no complaints in that area. But I was talking to my commander in his office with the door closed, and normally I just don't talk about religion because you're not supposed to in the military. It's contrary to order and discipline and morale and cohesion and all those things. But he, for some reason, decided to just openly and directly ask me, do I believe in God? And I said, well, no. No, I don't. And he said, well, you're lucky you've gotten promoted as much as you have. You're lucky you're still in the military. If it had been up to me, I wouldn't have promoted you. I would have thrown you out of the military.
Which is why they don't let you talk about it, I'm sure.
Well, no,
Wow.
the reason they don't want to talk about it is because, obviously any differing religious beliefs can become contentious.
Yes.
And if you've got to put your life in somebody else's hands, or they have to put their life in yours, you really don't want to chip away at that and be left wondering, can I trust this guy at all? Just because you started talking about religion.
I'm amazed that he said he would have discharged you had he known.
Yeah, that's obscene.
I mean, first of all, he has to know that he pretty much can't do that as the actual reason.
Yes, and that's what in the military, the guy outranks you, he can just order you to shut up. So I knew I only had seconds to make that point before, he got offended and I was ordered to shut up. So what I said is, sir, and it was snide because everybody's heard this thing a million times, but I really wanted to get at him because I was really offended. And not just offended personally, but offended professionally. Because
Absolutely.
I agree with, the separation of, religious beliefs and professional, being a professional service member.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him, I said, sir, while I disagree with your statement, I will defend to the death your right to say it.
Yep.
Because I took a solemn vow for that. Were you absolved of that vow? They made me vow when I joined. And, of course, he blew up and yelled and screamed and all that. But I think, his anger actually made me feel better because it meant that I had gotten through to him on some level that what he was doing was inappropriate.
Yeah, I think I would have pointed out that, when I was sworn in, I was offered the opportunity to swear or affirm. I didn't have to pledge anything to God.
Right, but I did affirm that I would support and defend the Constitution.
Absolutely.
And the Constitution guarantees that that I can believe or not believe whatever I want. I just have to do my job.
Yep.
And he went on to say that, with my lack of faith that I couldn't possibly be an effective combat leader, all this stuff where, he was so wrapped into his value system that he couldn't see any other way that could possibly work. Much like a person that can't accept evolution because they've got too much emotionally invested in Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
Because I hear that Genesis might not be in sequence. Anyway. Sorry.
Touche.
Anyway, and what I told him is, sir, and basically my belief is that being an atheist in many ways might make you a more effective soldier in combat when you're getting shot at, because that moment where many people would stop and huddle down and pray and hope that things would work out, I don't believe in prayer. I don't believe there's anybody that's going to help me
except me and the other people that are around me with guns. So.
Yeah, and I'd rather they weren't praying either, but I have to let them.
Yeah, you're wholly and solely responsible for the outcome of, you know, whatever situation you find yourself in. I mean, I've been blown up. I've got, you know, I don't have shrapnel in my leg, but I did. It's gone. You know, I've experienced some bad stuff, and at no point did I think to myself, you know, boy, I sure wish God would come down and intervene and protect me from the, you know, from the bullets or whatever.
You're probably too busy trying to survive.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a testable claim. We can test combat efficiency and readiness with and without prayer to find out which one's actually more effective.
Yeah, that actually could be scientifically tested. I think it'd be kind of hard to get, because most military people are religious, as I'm sure you're aware.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that is something that could be tested. You know, let's, you know, like the place that, when I was in Afghanistan the last time, I've been to Iraq twice, I've been to Afghanistan twice. The last time that I went there, pretty much every Saturday for the first couple of months, we'd get rocketed. You know, you could have just divided people up into two groups and had, you know, people over here praying and people over here, like, you know, taking cover, and see whether there's any difference in the incidence of injuries as a result of flying shrapnel and, you know, rapid changes in barometric pressure and all that stuff.
Fortunately, I don't think we have to test it at all. I think you can just say that every second spent not focused on the task automatically qualifies as inefficiency and unreadiness. So.
Yeah, and that's my contention, and that's why I feel so strongly about this. I mean, apart from the constitutionality of it, which I do deeply believe in, and you know, I'm very invested in.
So are you putting in for a transfer?
Oh, I suppose I could. I think that would, in terms of my personal experience, that would do more harm than good. If I were going to do anything, I would allege, you know, and it would be an allegation because it's just me talking, but I would allege that he actually told me these things and claimed that he's prejudiced and unprofessional and try to get him to go to court-martial. Odds are I will not do that because ultimately it's my word against his. Yeah. And there's really no point. So, you know, I tried to make the conversation brief and as civil as it could be, considering the subject matter. But honestly, you know, it's frustrating, but there's really no point in trying to fight back. Like that, I was watching one of your old shows. I only recently found out about your show, but that litigious idiot that wanted to sue Kirk Cameron or something for the April Fool's Day. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I said on that is he missed the whole point, is that he wanted to attack free speech. And if atheism is ever going to become a socially acceptable belief system, well, it's not a belief system, but, you know, other people view it as a belief system. If it's ever going to be socially accepted, it's going to be because people take seriously our First Amendment rights.
And on that note, I got to let you go because we've completely run out of time. Thanks so much for calling in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love the show.
Thanks, and I apologize. There's evidently several people on hold, including somebody who's got proof for creationism, calling all the way from Norway. So maybe we'll take it real quick after the show. We'll be back again next week, and, you know, I'll probably be in a different mood next week.